Hey, Merlin. Hey, boys and girls. Merlin is so excited because Jack and Annie are on their way to, do you remember? China or Camelot? Camelot, that's right. They already left China and are going straight to Camelot. Merlin, oh, he wants to know why they are going to Camelot. Do you guys remember why they are going to Camelot and not to Frog Creek Woods? That's right, because they need to take all the ingredients for the spell back to Kathleen and Teddy to break the spell and turn Penny back into a penguin. Do you remember that? All right. I left off and I said, do you think they'll be able to break the spell? Merlin sure hopes so. Should we read and find out? You'll need your reader response journal, so if you don't have that out, go ahead and grab that. Pause the video, grab your reader response journal, something to color with. Your job today is to illustrate the characters, because we're going to meet some new characters even at the end of our story. So, illustrate the characters, illustrate what they're doing, add some setting, maybe an event that's happening that you like, and I can't wait to see your amazing work. Keep that bottom box open for our later question, okay? Merlin, are you ready for me to read? Boys and girls, are you ready for me to read? Chapter 11, Breaking the Spell. A crescent moon hung low in the dark purple sky. A few stars still twinkled. Jack and Annie didn't move for a moment, breathing in the clean, fresh air. Jack broke the silence. It looks like we made it to Camelot before daybreak. Yep, exactly where did we land? Said Annie. Jack turned on their flashlight. He pointed it out the window. The light shone on trees, their branches heavy with golden apples. I'll bet we're in the orchard where we landed the last time we were here, said Jack. Turn off the light, whispered Annie. I think I see something in the distance. Jack switched off the flashlight. A different kind of light was shining in the dark orchard, a flickering light that moved toward them. Jack heard leaves crunching, twigs cracking, feet running, and voices whispering. Jack! Annie! A boy called out. Is that you? A girl said. Yes! Cried Annie. She scrambled down the rope ladder. Jack gathered up the jewel, the flower, the feather, and the panda bread. He put them in his pack and carefully climbed down after Annie. Teddy and Kathleen stood in a circle of lantern light, dressed in their long, dark cloaks. They hugged Jack and Annie. Welcome, said Teddy. We have been walking the grounds all night waiting for you. Finally, we saw a light above the orchard. Our flashlight, said Annie. And then we saw your light, said Jack. We're so glad you're here, said Kathleen. We are too, said Annie. Did you translate the last lines of the rhyme? Asked Jack. We did indeed, said Kathleen. And did you bring the 4 things to help us break the spell? Asked Teddy. We did indeed, said Annie. They're all in my backpack, said Jack. Wonderful, said Kathleen. We knew if anyone could find them, it would be you two. You have brought the 4 special things, and now we are all together. It is time to undo the spell, said Teddy. Yay, said Annie. Yay, indeed, said Teddy. Teddy, come along before the sun rises. Teddy and Kathleen started back the way they'd come, and Jack and Annie followed. Together, they wove between the trees in the fresh dawn air. Finally, they all emerged from the orchard. Kathleen shined the lantern on the door of a wooden cottage. Merlin's garden house, said Jack. Yes, said Teddy. Here's a picture of them. They're coming out of the orchard, and they're at that house. This is where we brought Penny from her little nest in the castle. We hoped that she might come back to life in Merlin's favorite place, but alas, she has not done so. He sighed. Teddy opened the door to the cottage, and they all stepped in. Jack shivered. It was damp and chilly inside, like a tomb. Kathleen placed the lantern on the table in the middle of the room. There she is, Teddy said sadly. Penny stood on the table, lit by lantern light. The little penguin was as gray and lifeless as stone. Penny, said Jack. The last time he'd seen her, she'd been so cute, so warm, and alive. Poor Penny, said Annie. She touched the penguin's beak and the top of her head. Bring forth the 4 things you found to break the spell, said Teddy. Jack reached into his backpack. Here, this is the first thing we found. It's from India, he said. He took out the emerald cut in the shape of a rose. He placed the jewel in front of Penny, where it glowed in the lantern light. The emerald rose stands for love, Annie said, the kind of love that rises above our faults and mistakes. Jack pulled out the dried yellow and white flower and placed it next to the emerald rose. This is from the Swiss Alps, he said. The glacial buttercup stands for being like a little kid, Annie said, the joyful open spirit of childhood. This is from Abraham Lincoln, a great president of our country, Jack said next. He took out the goose feather quill and put it next to the flower. This quill pen stands for the deepest kind of hope, said Annie, the hope that one day all of our sorrows will make sense. And this is from China, said Jack. He took out the panda bread and put it next to the feather. This is called panda bread, said Annie. It stands for protecting animals, for loving them and speaking up for them because they can't speak for themselves. All four things were lit by the circle of glowing lantern light along with Penny. Teddy, stand closer. You're the spellcaster, said Kathleen. Teddy stood in front of the table. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then he raised his arms and exclaimed, all four things are here with me, the one who cast the spell. Spell be broken. Penny, come back to life. Teddy opened his eyes. Everyone stared at Penny, waiting for something to happen. They waited and waited. Please, Penny, come back to life, whispered Teddy. They all waited another long moment. Slowly, Teddy lowered his arms. It's not working, he said quietly. The spell, to break the spell, it doesn't work. He picked up the small stone penguin and cradled her in his arms. So you won't come back to us, he said. You'll never come back to us. A tear fell from Teddy's eyes, then another. Oh, Teddy, said Annie. Teddy wiped his face on his sleeve of his cloak. Don't look at me weeping, he said. It's okay to cry, said Jack. Are you sad because you think Merlin will banish you from Camelot, said Annie. No, no, Teddy shook his head. I'm sad because, well, what you've shown us, what you've said to us now, makes me terribly sad. The emerald makes me think of how much Merlin loves Penny, and your flower makes me remember the joy she brought to everyone. And your gray feather makes me think how desperately Kathleen and I have been hoping we could undo the spell and bring Penny back to life. And your panda bread makes me think of how I was supposed to protect Penny while Merlin was gone. But I didn't care properly for her. I caused her harm instead. I can't change that now. I can't. Not ever. And I'm so sorry. As Teddy wept, his tears fell onto the stone penguin. Teddy? Said Annie. Please don't. But then she stopped. Beep, beep, beep. Hush, Teddy, Kathleen said. Stop crying. Listen. Beep, 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 beep. Teddy and the others looked over at Penny as they watched the baby penguin's body turn from dull gray to soft white. She lifted her head. Her eyes blinked. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, my goodness. That is so exciting. Penny came back. In your bottom box, I want you to predict what Jack and Annie will do next in the story. Chapter 12. One penguin at a time. That'll be our last chapter tomorrow, and I can't wait to read it with you. Until then, have a great day, kindergartners.